Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Springs Municipal Advisory Council meeting for January 11th, 2023. That's hard to believe. I wish everyone a happy new year and so happy that you're all able to be here. We're live streaming on KSVY, Sonoma Valley Television. The link is in our Facebook chat. At this time, we don't have Spanish interpretation. We're working on figuring that out. En este momento no tenemos interpretación en español disponible. Estamos tratando de averiguar lo que está pasando y ojalá que tendremos interpretación pronto. Mil disculpas. Hannah, can you call roll for us, please?
Yeah, definitely. Councilmember Lombard. Iris said in the chat that she doesn't have sound. Maybe she can't hear me. Oh, let's see.
Can you hear
well,
me? Can you
oh,
actually
yes, I can hear you.
Yay.
Great, awesome.
I had
Okay.
to log out and everything.
Okay.
Do the whole thing again.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, Iris is here. Councilmember Reyes, Mary Carmen.
Present.
Councilmember Alcaraz, Jesus.
Present.
Councilmember Winders, Celeste.
Present.
Councilmember Hardiman, Joe.
Present.
Okay, I am here and Chair Maite is here. So we're all here. Great.
Great, thank you. I just want to make a couple of addendums to the agenda. Number 13, budget update. We will do that at a later date. Karina is out today, but we have Hannah Whitman stepping in for her. So we're very grateful to Hannah for being here, and also to Sonoma Valley TV for broadcasting, and to Lynn Marie for minute taking, and Supervisor Gorin. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it on this rainy evening. So thank you all. We'll do approval of the minutes from the December 14th meeting. Are there any changes?
Motion.
Thank you.
Oh,
I'll second.
All right, Joe and Hannah, first and second. All in favor?
aye.
Okay, thank you so much. Also, our youth voice is not here. We are working on having a youth present at each meeting. That's just taking a little more time to work out the logistics and kinks in that, but is something that we hope to have reoccurring. So I just want to make a couple of announcements about public comment. Just a reminder that public comment is limited to items not on the agenda. We will have public comment prior to each agenda item. So just a reminder that the plaza is on the agenda, so those can wait for that item to be on our agenda. We got some feedback that 90 seconds is not enough time, so we will be providing 2 minutes for public comment today. Hannah will start the timer. Also, another thing I just want to remind folks of, this is an advisory council, so we are not a decision-making body. So we appreciate the public comment that everyone is providing us, and that we are a conduit to the county, and that Supervisor Gorin hears your public comment, but we are not a decision-making body. We are here to hold space for people to be able to have public comment. So just want to remind folks of that's our role here, and we're super happy and honored to be able to do that and to hold space for people, and that this is one of the few arenas that we have available to us in the Springs that we can voice our concerns, our hopes, our dreams. So thank you to everyone who shows up and is here to speak to us. And also, we do receive emails and we do read them all. So again, thank you for everyone for providing your input to us. It does make a difference when we make decisions. It's certain because we are here to help elevate your voice. So we do appreciate that. So just wanted to share that information with everyone. I want to move on to community event announcements. And are there any community events that we would want to go to in soggy January or February that might be indoors? Hannah?
I would just like to note that I am canceling the creek cleanup at Larson this Saturday. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be some pretty steep water. Okay, thank you. Mari Carmen?
I don't know if vaccine clinics count. Vaccine clinics at the health center are still every Wednesday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And so if you want to go today, there's still time. Thank you.
Are there any announcements of events from the public? I see one hand.
And I'll go ahead and unmute.
Thank you.
This is for John. Should be able to unmute.
Yes, thanks. And thanks for the 2 minutes. I'll speak quickly. We are going through our strategic planning process for Sonoma Valley Hospital. And the last week of this month, Tuesday, the 24th at either St. Leo's or Springs Hall, Wednesday, the 25th at the hospital, and Thursday, the 26th at Vintage House, we're going to be doing listening sessions to talk about, where the community, where you feel we need to be spending our efforts to improve healthcare in the Valley. So look for promotions. We'll put out internet, we'll put out messaging on that, but I just want to let the group know that was happening.
Thank you so much. Okay.
And Chair Turi, I see no further hands.
Thank you so much. Okay, we will close item 5. Item 6, not a lot to update. We were all in holiday mode for a couple of weeks, and now we're back in the swing. It's really easy. It's like that time away and time with your family seems to have been, it's so far in the rearview mirror right now, but just, trying to live off of that joy and that time with family. So we will have more to report in the future as we get back into the swing of activities and things happening in our community. So not a lot on the update from my chair. Supervisor Gorin, do you have an update that you would like to share with us?
You can call me Susan, it's okay. Let's not stand on formality. And, I think the update that's really important is talking about the county response to the flooding. And we know that all of the attention of the Emergency Operations Center and all of the other departments really focused on the challenges of the West County. Roads have been washed away, trees have been tumbling down, and sadly, we've lost one young child, and now a woman apparently was submerged in the creek in her car. Don't know the circumstances of her death, but I just want to reiterate to all of you, needs no stern warning, do not drive through standing water. You have no idea how deep the water level is, and the cars are buoyant and they can easily lift up and float away. And sadly, we lost probably a vibrant woman, a member of the community, and certainly with the redwood tree crashing down on a mobile home, a beautiful young child. We adjourned in the memory of that young child, and we will in the memory of the incredible woman who lost her life and the 2 construction crew members from PG&E who lost their lives in trying to restore power in Mendocino. These storms are serious, and I wish I could say, oh, great, we need the water. And now I'm saying enough already. We have enough water for a while. But I encourage all of you to go onto the Sonoma IT. There was a video filmed and posted by Ray Mullis at Shell Vista, looking at not just a creek, not just a little river, but an entire large lake floating down Broadway, closing that road. And that is sobering. And we have to recognize that this is a major commute route and transportation route connecting folks with jobs and goods and services. It's a state highway. And I said to my colleagues yesterday, this I've thought about this and started taking some action on this previously, but this is priority for District 1. And Arthur Dawson is absolutely, and Richard Dale saying, yes, this is historic flooding. And folks who live down there said, yeah, we have this all the time. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't take this seriously and looking for ways to harvest that water, divert that water, replenish our aquifers, both upstream and downstream, because this road is an important corridor for Sonoma Valley. But it goes without saying that we have creeks all over the valley topping their banks. And so the good news is there's not significant damage, but there is still reports coming in from community members about their degraded roads. Those pothole patches have just popped off. Sometimes the deep potholes, and we're not going to get them fixed anytime soon because the rains keep coming. And I just heard from someone today who was shocked to learn that he lives on a road, a part of a road, a small section of road that is not part of the county maintained road system. And sadly, we had to say, I'm sorry, but we don't have the resources to even take some action to regrade the road and repair the culvert and the gravel washing out. So that is, we are continuing to be reminded of the fact that we are an amalgam of roads and nice little lovely cottages left over from the resort area, the resort era. And we know that we would love to provide services to everybody, repave all of the roads, provide sidewalks and culverts. But if you notice a problem with a culvert that is being plugged up for whatever reason, take a shovel, take a rake, try to unclear it, because if you don't, that water is going to spread probably on your property. Don't wait for permission, just go and do it, and then send in a repair, and maybe the rains will stop at some point. But we know that this is challenging for all of us. And I have checked in with our homeless service providers, and thank heavens for the owner of the building next to the community cafe, providing great respite services for all those unsheltered folks. Every time I hear the rain pounding on my roof, and I just heard it, and the wind's whipping, I think of many, many people who are sheltering in very fragile tents, trying to stay warm, trying to stay fed. And I'm continuing to check in with our homeless service providers to see what I can do to help them provide the services that are desperately needed. And also working with health services. Health services, I think, is part of your program tonight. What are they doing for the homeless in our community? And I know that many in the Russian River have sheltered at the Kraft building at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds, and their conditions are so wild and wicked. Of course, they want a safe and dry place to shelter, but there are many folks in Sonoma Valley that want the same thing. And I'll continue to ask, who are they and how can we provide transportation for them up to the fairgrounds? And the rains are not done with us. We're going to have some more rains coming in. The silver lining is our reservoirs are in really good shape. And we know our snowpack in the mountains, our cup runneth over. And there's so much snow that they don't know what to do with it, but there will be flooding in Sacramento at some point when those snows start to melt off. So that's my report today, other than our first board meeting. We swore in our two re-elected supervisors, James Gore and David Rabbit. And I hope at some point in the near future, we can invite maybe Carla Rodriguez, our new district attorney, Diva Marie Proto, our registrar of voters, and the amazing Christina Rivera. And we will give her some time and space to find her sea legs. But I will try to find opportunities for her to come and visit with you, maybe appear on Community Leaders. And we are so proud of her. And I want to thank Hannah for pinch hitting for Karina, who's having a few health issues. And we want to make sure that she has time to recover. But Hannah is an experienced staff person for the North Sonoma Valley NAC. Be gentle with her. Thank you all. Happy New Year. And could we give a brief respite from the rains?
Thank you, Supervisor Gorin. We appreciate your time and you being here. Is there any comment or public comment? We'll start with comment from the council. Iris?
Hi, Supervisor Gordon, do you know, do the shelters now allow people's animals to go in with them, even if they're not service animals?
Yeah, yes, they do.
Oh, good.
And
Okay.
I think each shelter has their own rules and procedures, but I believe that animals are allowed, but also at the fairgrounds, a whole coterie of animals, pigs, potbelly pigs and goats and horses and dogs and chickens are sheltering safely at the fairgrounds.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment?
And yes, I do see at least one hand. So let me get the timer slide up. 1 second.
Alright. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
And the first commenter is Josette. You should now be able to unmute.
This is Josette Broziker. I did want to mention that Dave Jefferson at the old Community Cafe location on Napa Street, working with Homeless Action Sonoma, they are looking for warm clothing and food items. So please do contact Homeless Action Sonoma and ask the things they need. They just have a microwave and fridge over there. So food they can heat up and sodas and things like that are needed to drop by for the residents. And it looks really cozy over there. So I would just urge everybody to contact them and see what they need during this time for everyone that's using the warming center and shelter. Thanks so much.
Thank you. That's super helpful information. Thank you.
And it is super helpful. And I know that a staff member of Homeless Action Sonoma is picking up food provided by SOS at the Grange building and then providing that to the folks sheltering. It is lovely to see incredible collaboration and cooperation among our community and our homeless providers.
Thank you. Seeing no further public comment, we'll move on to the next item. So we dedicated this meeting to mental health and suicide prevention. We have lost many lives in our community and in others, and mental health has always been something that's really important to me personally. When I was a principal, even in my current role, and it's important. It just has touched so many lives, and we wanted to create some space for people that in our community doing work to support our community members. Excuse me. And we have Sonoma County Behavioral Health. We have RISC, which is an all-volunteer nonprofit organization, and then we have the Sonoma Valley Mental Health Community Collective, and each organization will have some time to share the work that they're doing. We know it doesn't matter what your resources are or what your access is, that mental health touches all our lives, and suicide also. So we want to be informed and support in any way that we can. So I want to invite Elizabeth. She's a health program manager from Health Services at County of Sonoma. And she's going to talk a little bit about the suicide prevention programs and mental health programs that are offered in Sonoma Valley through the county. And then we'll proceed with RISC and Sonoma Valley Mental Health Collective. So thank you, Elizabeth, for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm a manager for what's called the Community Mental Health Centers. And we primarily serve adults who are Medi-Cal beneficiaries or uninsured individuals. And we have offices in Cloverdale, Guerneville, Petaluma, and Sonoma. So we are kind of the not Santa Rosa team. That's how I sometimes phrase it. And we do have capabilities to serve folks in their homes. So they don't have to be able to come to our offices because we know that that can be a big barrier, transportation and such. And so, excuse me, we do have a very specific population though, due to our funding. We work with Medi-Cal. And so we, in my particular program, we serve adults 18 and older. I think that might be shifting to 21 and older with some new alignment stuff with CalAIM that I'm sure you've all heard referenced, but hasn't officially changed. But there are youth and family clinicians who work in the area as well. And also the mobile support team is through the county. I think you all have probably heard of them. They provide crisis response, but it is with law enforcement. So that's one caveat to that. But my program, we have a variety of what the healthcare plan calls specialty mental health services. We do case management, individual rehabilitation, which is things like life skills, taking people and learning how to ride the bus or how to get a library card and do things like that, but also coping skills, self-soothing things. We can connect them to individual therapy. Medication management, we do currently only have a telepsychiatrist, so we don't have an in-person doctor, only in Petaluma. So that is a little bit of a limitation. All of my staff are trained in suicide risk assessment and work closely with the crisis stabilization unit and other supports like the SAFE team here in Petaluma and Cotati, and in response in Santa Rosa when we do have people who are there. We have a nurse who is in person and goes all over the county and does house calls, and we'll see people at the office if they don't want him in their home. Excuse me. And he's really, a go-getter. He will go to an encampment and find somebody who's been off the grid and help them get their medications refilled, and is a very creative problem solver. So we really appreciate him. And I apologize for not having more information about our other programs. I had hoped that someone else was going to be here, but they were not able to come. So I can provide more information offline for you all to pass out if that's helpful.
Can you speak a little bit about what's happening in Sonoma Valley specifically?
Specifically, I have right now, based on the allocations, I have one person who's a case manager out there, and that is what we have. And I think she's actually technically partially funded by the Petaluma program, but she primarily is out in Sonoma. And then my nurse splits his time between all 4 offices. So that's what we have. Very small program.
Where's your office located?
We share a suite with Supervisor Gorin in the Grove Street office next to the Sheriff's Department, which we are aware is also a barrier. So we do try to meet folks elsewhere in the community when there are concerns about being near law enforcement.
I'm wondering if the council has any questions for Elizabeth? Celeste.
Yeah, I just would like you to speak a little bit, because I think something that a lot of people aren't aware of is that for young people who are under the age of 18, there's not a lot of mental health services available here in the Valley, and they're typically referred to Sonoma County Behavioral Health because you're one of the few agencies that does provide those services to teenagers and children. And I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit just sort of about that and sort of the difference between the adult services and the youth services, and why it is that way, because I know that's been a big barrier here in the Valley for a lot of our young people to access therapy and services outside of school. The school has a wellness center and has school-based therapy, but outside of addressing outside of school-based issues has always been a big struggle here in the Valley for our young people. And I'm wondering if you could help sort of explain that a little bit.
Yeah, I think there has been a delay in return to in-person services, especially on the youth side. So services that are being provided are probably mostly remote still at this point. There are some folks who are in person, but it hasn't been a mandate to my knowledge on the youth side the way it has been on adult. People have been under the impression that sometimes it is more helpful for families to not have to go somewhere. So that is, I can provide that feedback. Let me say it that way.
Okay. Thank you. Joe and then Mari Carmen.
So Joe, I'm part of the Springback, but I also another hat. I work for the Boys and Girls Club of Sonoma Valley, which is just around the corner from that Grove office. I know you're talking about trying to find spaces outside of that office to meet folks. We actually have a space set aside purely for mental health that's not used all the time. So I'm just saying, reach out to me. Let's talk about, see if we can work something out to have a space that meetings could happen. And it's actually a portable, not connected to our building too. So that adds an extra little piece of safety with all the kids around as well. So just offering that up, please reach out offline and we can talk about that.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
Thanks, Joe. Mari Carmen.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for your time today. Could you talk a little bit about what your referral system is if somebody does want to access your program? I understand that it's Medi-Cal only per se, but how would somebody access it? Thank you.
Yeah, so all of our referrals go through a center assessment point in Santa Rosa, but they don't have to go there. They can have their assessment done via Zoom or over the phone. And it is the same main phone number for everybody. It's 707-565-6900. They also have in person where the person can go to, if they have the availability to get to Santa Rosa, which I know is a challenge, but to use equipment there to do Zoom if they don't have it available at home. And we also have been a little bit creative and having people come to our office and use our telehealth equipment when we're available. We do have super limited staffing, like I said, so that's not always possible, but so they call that line, they get a screening that asks a few quick questions. And we even have a better screening tool from the state now that just came out, which is great, to try to reduce some barriers for people and get them to services more quickly.
Thank you. And I'm assuming you have bilingual staff? Or
yes, absolutely. And if it's not Spanish, we do have an interpretation service available.
So I have another question. If there was a barrier you could remove to access, what would that be for the Valley?
More staff. I would love to, this is like pie in the sky, but I would love to be able to have a place where people could walk in and get connected and get things going right away rather than this kind of piecemeal process. And I know that's really frustrating for folks, and it takes too long. So
what kind of staff would that be?
Currently, the state doesn't require, as of January 1st, it's not required to be a licensed clinician anymore. So it could be what we call a senior client support specialist. That's a bachelor's level. I believe if they have a associate's degree and 6 years of experience. So it is still a bit of a steep lift. We're working on some peer certification programs and things that'll be able to open that up a little bit more. So there are multiple avenues being pursued.
So you need space and a person.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what we need. Thank you. I'm going to open it to public comment unless there's more comment from the council. Okay. Is there public comment for the Sonoma Behavioral Health?
And it looks like we do have at least one hand, so I'll go ahead and share my screen again. Just give me one moment.
All right, that's a 2-minute public comment.
All right. And this is for Mario. You should be able to unmute.
Good evening. Can you hear me there?
Yes.
Awesome. So for good evening, everyone. So for everyone, mental health is something that is really important for me and something that I've been advocating for a long time because of personal reasons and also situations that have happened in transpiring in my family with family relatives. And I'm glad the county is looking at ways to provide better services here in the valley. Currently, the health center, the school district, or even the collaborative that has started doing some work around that. For whatever reason, I just don't see that they're really making a wave on that. I mean, the situation continues to be very challenging. In fact, today I had a client that reached out to me. It was actually a referral from someone that works actually in the county, for the county, and it's someone whose kid is going to the educational system. And it's basically struggling to get services for months and months. Has an appointment for in 2 months with the county, and then it's basically at that time that the family are just struggling to figure out services for their child. So the educational piece, the preventive piece, it's basically continues to be a model that is, that is just focused on, primarily its resources are focused on people who are just, failing or on the ground struggling and greatly. So it's very, very unfortunate.
Thank you, Mario.
And I'm seeing no further hands.
Are there any final comments from the council?
No.
Supervisor Gorin?
Thank you, Mario, for sharing that. And Celeste would verify that we have many, many folks in the schools struggling with mental health issues. I encourage you to invite someone from SAY providing some stopgap services in the schools at 2 elementary schools, 1 middle school and a high school. It is not sufficient. And you're right, the county is really struggling. Everyone is struggling to hire qualified mental health professionals to fill those gaps and provide those services. We are contemplating offering incentives to folks to come to work for the county and provide those services. Kaiser offers them. I think Sutter offers them. And we are very close to approve those incentives, as we have for our deputy sheriffs and dispatchers. So it's one solution, but we're also looking at employing folks as mental health professionals, not necessarily with the credentials, but certainly skilled at providing some services. But if you know of anybody who is looking for work at the county, please let me know, and I will pass it along to health services, because indeed they are struggling. And I bet Mary Carmen would also say the health center is struggling to hire mental health professionals. And Hannah Boy Center is struggling to hire mental health professionals. So, and I know that Elizabeth can probably comment more knowledgeably than I could, but the county does recognize the need and is trying to understand why we have so many vacancies in mental health services, both at the county level, but also in our jails. So it's across the board. It's not just our county, it's all counties. And we're trying to fill those gaps, but it's challenging. Thanks, Elizabeth, for all that you do.
Yes, thank you, Elizabeth. I think Supervisor Gorin, I think what's happened, I mean, we didn't have enough mental health services prior to the pandemic. And since the pandemic, our mental health need has exploded and people are
Exactly.
beginning to realize the importance of mental health. So those
Yes.
professionals that do exist are at high market value in every industry. So
Yeah.
I think that that's, we don't have enough people going into that profession. They end up owing hundreds of thousands of dollars when they leave their education. It's just we're in a tough spot. So yeah. Petaluma
And
City Schools is also hiring for mental health providers. So
and we recognize that what we've been through in the past couple of years have really put our children in crisis zones because of the Zoom learning that is really challenging for them and the social isolation. So you're right. We are reaping the challenges that we've been queuing up over the past couple of years.
thank you. So I'd like to thank you all very much. And thank you, Elizabeth, for being here. We appreciate your time, and any resources you can send our way would be great. We'd like to get those out to people. We have our volunteer nonprofit organization in the Valley who's been working on mental health for, I think, at least a decade, maybe longer. RISC, and I think we have Leslie Nicholson, the director of the RISC group, here to speak with us about what she and her colleagues offer in our community. Leslie is there. She is. Okay, I turn it over to you. Welcome.
Maite, may I say that there should be a presentation that was provided to Hannah?
Okay, Hannah, do you have that?
I do. I'm just pulling it up now. One moment.
All right, great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just want to say again que no tenemos servicios de interpretación esta noche. Lo siento mucho. No sabemos lo que pasó, pero nuestro intérprete no llegó y lo sentimos mucho que no tenemos ese servicio disponible esta noche. Gracias.
Hi, everybody. I'm Leslie Nicholson. Do we have the PowerPoint?
It's just loading up right now. If you
Okay.
give you just one
Great.
moment. Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I am the director of RISC Sonoma. And Mary Carmen, I'm very blessed to have her on my board. And we started we kind of think we started, it's been such a ride. 2015 is when we started. And I basically started it by myself. We had lots of challenges with our teenage son, and from the experiences I had and the challenges of support, I decided to start RISC Sonoma. I sat at my computer and decided that was what I wanted to do. So do you want me to click on the different things? We can go to number 2. Yeah. Okay. RISC stands for Resources, Information, Support, and Knowledge. I thought of that driving to work one day. It just kind of came into my head. We are a nonprofit under Inquiring Systems, hoping to be our own independent 501c3 at some point. Like I said, it started in 2015. We had a son who took a very quick spin out of control, and happens faster sometimes than you think. Things were building and it was very tough. So I knew that my goal was to create a network of parents to support each other instead of put parents in a situation where they feel isolated and judged and alone, because I felt like that. All of a sudden you have the bad child and lost a lot of support, a lot of disappointments. And I decided to make something good of it. So when he started to turn the corner and improve, I just started thinking, how am I going to do this? So what we have done is we are not counselors. We are the people that you can call. I have told people have asked me why my cell phone number is on all our information, because I don't want a parent to go to a voicemail. When a parent needs help and needs some resources, they need to talk to somebody like I did. And I've told parents, if you need me at 3 a.m, I am here at 3 a.m. I will leave my phone open and on my nightstand, because that was the worst time for me. If you've ever had a child that doesn't come home and wanders around town with their friends, it's tough and you don't sleep very well. So those are the times I really needed support. So I offer the same thing. So what we do is offer a place for parents who need to talk to another parent. I've taken parents outside of Sonoma to Petaluma. I've met them in Santa Rosa, because sometimes Sonoma can be pretty small. I've met them in my home, and I'm very lucky to have a board that also supports the parents in this community. And we've been able to do a lot with nonprofit partners to bring issues, like we said, on the PowerPoint to the forefront. A lot of things that people don't want to talk about. You can go to the next slide. We have had parent forums on many different things. We have had, I looked at some of these things. We've had different panels about how you keep your kids engaged. We've addressed opioids. We've had a lot of sponsorships, as you can see. We addressed marijuana and the teenage brain. We've had speakers come in and talk about binge drinking. We set up a mental health forum last March, since we're talking about mental health tonight, last March at Hannah, with lots of support, Maite, and other people in the community. We couldn't have pulled it off without them. And we were able to have a forum of 75 people to get the conversation started. It was a listening session. We have gone over all the needs. We've tried to structure some things for the community, but this year we're going to launch a parent support group and get back to holding monthly sessions of topics such as social media, suicide prevention, school safety. We're going to bring some people in to talk about the fentanyl issue. So there are things that people don't want to hear about or are difficult topics sometimes, but we decided that that was our mission, to get these things out in the community, because knowledge is power and parents need to know what's going on. Next slide, please. Some of the other things we've done: social media, parenting in the age of anxiety and depression. We did that at Altamira with Carrie Rigo. Those were powerful, and we need to bring those back again, because social media continues to be a influence on our kids, and it's like the Wild West. So next slide, please. I guess you can go to the next slide. I don't know where that came. Oh, I see. Binge drinking. One of the most powerful presentations we had, and we want to bring back, is Debbie Allen from up in Reading. Her daughter died from binge drinking. It's age 17. And in this community, that is something that has been a continual concern of many, many people. We have a very high rate of kids that enter the emergency room and are intubated. I know that there's, a lot of focus on fentanyl, which there needs to be, but we want to get back to talking about some of the other things that affect our children. This is something that affected our son, and really was terrifying. I didn't know, Debbie really opened my eyes to some of the things about, the kids drinking now currently. So we want to bring her back. She's very knowledgeable and also a retired law enforcement officer. So next slide. So last year, like I'm going to go back, we talked about, we did the community health forum, mental health forum. It was a listening session. We had an amazing turnout. We had never done this before. We had a cross section of the community. We had diversity in race. We had diversity in age. We had diversity in with teenagers. We had parents that brought children. I mean, it was all appropriate, but we had this great turnout, and it was something we had a lot of passion for, and we had no idea. You know, we just took the lead on this because we felt like this is where the community really needed to go in this direction. Let's get everybody together to talk. So from that, a lot of things have rolled out since then. We did a teen wellness cafe, and we also this fall did a suicide prevention training in collaboration with Youth and Family Services. So we've been working with them. So again, we're going to take a lot of the things we learned last March and continue to build on them. And that's going to be our guiding light, so to speak, for the next year. Next slide. Current issues. Of course, during the pandemic, the isolation, mental health issues escalated amongst youth, creating concerns with parents in the community. Thus, we started the listening session. We've been working with a lot of other community partners. And like I said before, school safety, fentanyl, binge drinking, social media, we'll continue to focus on that. We want to form a monthly parent group, which is one of the things that came out of the mental health forum. Parents really want that ongoing support for themselves, of course, but also to talk and find out how they can best support their teens with everything that they're being influenced on. And we're grateful for all the support we've had over the years, and especially in the last year, as we focus on mental health. Maite, Supervisor Gorin's office, all our sponsors, we couldn't do it without you. So we really appreciate that. Next slide, please. Any questions for me or Mary Carmen?
There we go. Leslie, I just want to say thank you to you and the risk team that you have. You volunteer. So, you know, I really understand the word volunteer now more than I have in the past. You work a full-time job, and then you go and do this work, and you're willing to take phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning. And the services and the support that you provide to parents is super important. So I just want to thank you for that, acknowledge it, because it is a big deal. Your whole board works full-time jobs and then does this on the side. So
yeah,
thank you for that.
We kind of call ourselves the little engine that could. Somebody asked me how many people are involved, and I said 5. And they looked at me and I said, yes, 5. And so, I mean, I'm so lucky to have this team to work with. It's been pretty amazing. And, you know, please, if parents are struggling and they need somebody to talk to, please call us. I try to make myself available. We actually had a parent from overseas call us, which surprised me. And because there's nothing in their country to help them. So they're trying to come over here. So I've been connecting them. The kids are struggling everywhere. So, and parents, I do this with a passion, because when you're going through this, the last thing you need is to feel like you have to start from square one. And that's why we have resources. Not counseling. I can I can provide that as a resource. But to be able to give somebody that it's not your fault. Let's start from that and let's figure out some solutions. That's why I do this. And it's been a healing point for me to be able to provide that to other parents. And you know, we've gone through our own personal things on the board. You know, family issues and things like that. And we support each other because they can be challenging. So
Thank you, Leslie.
Mhm.
I think, I'm not sure Supervisor Gorin's hand is up from the last one. But I'll move to Iris.
Sorry, that was me. I'm gonna lower it.
Okay, thank you. Iris, did you have a comment?
I had a question. I've just heard that the state of New Jersey is starting training in media literacy for kids.
wow.
Does that, it seems really relevant. It seems like way more than kids need that, but kids would be a great place to start. It sounds like you haven't heard of that. And I was wondering if there's any, you know, if you've seen any movement, but that's an irrelevant question at this point.
Media literacy. Wow.
Yeah.
That's something to look into.
Yeah.
And thank you for bringing that up, because that would be a really good thing to bring here and present. Obviously the high school could use it, but yeah, if we could get a hold of that information and provide it to parents, I think it'd be really powerful, because parents struggle with, you know, the phone issues and what's going on social media. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie.
Mhm.
Are there any other comments from the council before I move to public comment? Okay. Moving to public comment.
And I'm going to go ahead and share the timer.
I see one hand.
All right. And first up, excuse me, is David. David, you should be able to unmute.
Hi, David Eicher here in Boise Hot Springs. You know, there's mentioned about a shortage of mental health care professionals. And I think part of the problem is the educational resources for the mental health professionals. My daughter just started a master program in psychology, specializing in counseling of youth at Sonoma State. And entry is very competitive. She was one of only 25 that got in this year out of 60 or more applicants. And so I don't know if there's anything the county can do to try to help to expand the educational resources to get people who are interested in being a healthcare, mental health care professional to get in and get the education needed to help the others. So, you know, but thank you for listening.
Thank you, David, for your comment. Are there any other comments, Hannah?
Seeing no further hands.
All right. The risk team.
And Maite, I just wanted to respond. Thank you, David. Thank you for nurturing a daughter who wants to go into this field. Bravo to you and Josette. And the county is partnering with SSU. Students not only need to receive an education, but they need opportunities for internships. And that's part of the requirement. And indeed, the county is working with SSU to provide some of those opportunities, but you raise a really good point.
Thank you. Are there any final comments? I may have already asked that. Okay, thank you. Oh, Joe?
Yeah, just one more thing for those that weren't aware also, with my other hat, Boys and Girls Club, we have partnered with Petaluma People Service Center. So we do offer group and one-on-one counseling free of charge for our members. So just so people around know that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good model. Okay. We'll move on to our final presentation before our break. We have our Sonoma Valley Mental Health Collective. Cindy, who's the Substance Abuse Program Manager at Hannah Center, will share with us the work that they're doing.
And through the chair, can I ask if Cindy, if you could please raise your hand so I know who to promote? And oh, perfect. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Hannah.
That was my mistake. I wasn't seeing it for whatever reason.
All right. Welcome, Cindy. Thank you for being here.
Hi, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me tonight. I wanted to introduce briefly Hannah Center. So I am the substance use program manager right now. I am I'm a clinical psychologist and a therapist. I'm just working on having my license in the state of California. In the meantime, I'm licensed with CCAP, which is the California Consortium of Addiction Programs and Professionals. So for those who are not familiar with Hannah Center, we are therapeutical programs located in Sonoma. We're working with youth youth, family, and community that were impacted by trauma and adversity. We are, our motto is to really provide trauma-informed care to help these youth to transition into adulthood in the most efficient way. They're helping build resiliency, working on life skills, social skills, and also career development. We work at several levels. We have a high school, so we work on the education program. We also have an institute. We provide trainings for the community. We also have residential service. Some of the boys are day students. Some of the boys are staying in the homes. And we also have a mental health hub. The opening is planned for April. Finger crossed it's going to happen in April. We will provide help for the community. We will have therapy, we'll have groups, one-on-one, and a lot of activities. I can provide flyers for some of the activities that are planned if anybody's interested. I'm going to be starting substance use groups as well as one-on-one, because not everybody likes, especially with kids, not everybody likes the dynamic of groups. When speaking of suicidality in youth, it's really important to understand the cause and working at several levels, working on the preventive aspect, especially with population that can be more sensitive or prone to suicide, population like substance use, addicts and substance users, also the trans and the LGBT community, and kids who suffered all kinds of ACEs, kids who suffered bullying, understanding that suicide is not something that happens overnight just for one reason. It's often also caused by co-occurring disorders, and it can be prevented with the necessary help, with therapy, sometimes medication if necessary, but also with social healing and support. Especially when working with teenagers. Teenagers do not use language the way adults do. So we really need to understand behavior. Teenagers tend to be more in what we call act out, right? The behavior is going to change. And it's important to really recognize the risk and then address it at the level needed, and provide the care adapted to the person. Based on what they respond most, so we're very looking forward to have the mental health hub to be able to really open all those services to the community. Right now we're working with the boys, also with alumni and with the families also. We will providing groups for parents also. We will do parenting groups. I'm going to be having a workshop for men also, for men to understand, men are at higher risk for suicide. We're having a like really tragic, skyrocketing numbers in men in suicide, because men are taught since they're little to just man up, just swallow their emotion, don't show emotion, don't cry, don't be sad. And it's having dramatic repercussion on boys and on men. So really addressing, understanding, deconstructing suicide on a preventive aspect, and really understand what causes and what leads people to move from ideation to intent. There's an escalation, we go from ideation to intent to behavior to attempt, and sadly, some people will die. So we're really trying to work on the preventive aspect. And again, with different communities, we are trauma-informed care. This is very, very important, understanding the repercussion of trauma in people's behavior. That's what we work with addiction also, understanding why people use substances. Substances, whether drugs or alcohol, are always a solution to or a way to self-regulate. It's a dysfunctional coping skill, but it is a coping skill to deal with trauma and PTSD for many addicts. We are also working from an angle of cultural diversity awareness. Many of our mental health specialists are from Latino descent. We have Spanish-speaking groups. I will have some groups in Spanish also. I understand very well Spanish. I speak broken Spanish, but I will work with a coworker who's full of native in Spanish. We also understand what it's like to be from another culture in the US, having parents who are immigrants, parents who don't speak the language. We will also address gender diversity, because like I said, the LGBTQ and gender or transgender population is at higher risk, not only for bullying, but also for self-harm. So that's all the service. I don't have a lot of time. I wish I could go in depth in more aspects of what we're doing, but this is what we're doing. And also regarding Sonoma Valley Mental Health Collective, I'm going to let Leslie introduce all the resource available, because again, when working with suicidality, we have to understand that when people attempt suicide, it's because they feel like they have no other solution. They feel like they ran out of option. They're tired. Most of the time when you speak with people who tried, they will tell you that it's not that they really wanted to die, they just did not want to suffer anymore. So when we provide adequate tools and resources, we give hope back, because that's what suicide is really. It's a case of a hopelessness. So really providing as many resources as we can, and again, adapted to the person's needs. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say tonight. And I will let Leslie talk about the resources for the Valley and the Sonoma Valley Mental Health Collective. Thank you.
So Hannah, can you promote Leslie?
And this is Leslie Peterson?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Give me one moment. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. I'm sure, just stay on with us for a few minutes. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Sorry if you were waiting for me. I was somewhere in between. I am thankful to Cindy because from a clinical perspective, Karina really had hoped that we would talk about suicidality tonight, and Cindy's the expert here on our team at Hannah. But as it pertains to the Sonoma Valley Mental Health Collective, the collective is really, it kind of started off with the ARPA funding grant initiative, and we were really hoping to kind of infuse a lot of money that could help us provide the services that we would all love to provide, but we have to find a way to do that, right? And so about 19 people or 19 organizations came together to really try to address the needs of our community. And those, Boys and Girls Club, Joe was part of that group. La Luz, Sonoma Overnight Support, of course, Leslie and Risk, the Mentoring Alliance, Homeless Action Sonoma, the hospital, the Community Health Center, Mary Carmen, the school district, the Ed Foundation, Youth and Family Services, the Community Center. So it was really a big group of people. And I think the most important thing that has come from it is that we're all talking to each other, and we're all continuing to try and find ways in which we can work together to do really some wraparound and whole person care in this community. And I think that Cindy mentioned all the opportunities, the after school enrichment opportunities, and the prevention and intervention, the assessments that I was just approached by Homeless Action Sonoma that they would like us to do assessments before they put people in the housing that they're going to do. So we'll be partnering with them. So really the collective is just a group of mental health people that are really concerned about the mental health of our community as a whole. And so we have Spanish speaking mental health professionals here. We're doing our best to recruit as much as we possibly can. Everyone knows how expensive those services are, but we are planning to serve the uninsured and underinsured, and we'll figure out how to fund it once we have those people in place. So I think that covers it, unless anyone has. Oh, I will mention that Hannah, because Hannah Center has been focused on youth and families. We will continue to focus on youth and families. We are going to partner with Mentis out of Napa, who provides adult mental health services. So they will be working here in Sonoma out of the community mental health clinic on the Hannah campus, but providing the adult mental health services too. So the whole community is welcome to the services of the community mental health hub. So again, the building is being built in the rain right now, but our goal is that it will be open by April 1st.
It's exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's really a group effort.
Yeah.
It was very intentional that we named the Community Mental Health Hub at Hannah. It is not Hannah's mental health hub, and we really want everyone to know that everyone is welcome, and we want to be inclusive.
Thank you. Are there comments from council? I see Mari Carmen.
Yes, well, I just want to thank all the three speakers, because now we've listened to all of them: Elizabeth, Leslie Nicholson, Cindy, and Leslie Peterson, for your time today. And I know Leslie Peterson, at one point the collaborative was working kind of like on a resource guide, where not only are our organizations talking to each other, but rather having a list where people can see all the different services that are going on, from Boys and Girls Club, Health Center, Hannah, of course, even what La Luz is doing, what the schools are doing per se. So just kind of wanted to see where that was at and when it would kind of be available for community members. And as a member of RISC, I don't have any kids personally, but I've always been in the education and with my nephews. So I think that we all have that paternal maternal side, and really care about our like all the kids in our community are our kids, So that's my reason to being there. And thank you, Maite, for bringing this up with the MAC, and Karina. She's not here, and and Supervisor Gorin for all your support.
Thanks, Mari Carmen. Are there any other comments from council? Are there any public comments? It's a hard topic. Yeah. Oh, Jesus, did you want to make a comment before I go to public?
Yes, it's a question for Cindy and Cindy H. and Leslie Peterson. So how would somebody that would like to contact you can do that? Just look at Sonoma Mental Health Collective or Coalition?
You can call Hannah Boy Center. You
Okay.
can call Hannah Boy Center. If you ask for Cindy or myself, we can direct you.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus. So I see 3 hands raised. We'll do 2 minutes each.
All right, and first up is Diana. You should be able to unmute.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for bringing this really important topic out. Mari Carmen's comment about sharing putting together a single resource list made me wonder if it is going to be part of the hub. I know you already have big dreams, but to be able to put together like how we know who we're missing. In other words, we've got different things that are slowly coming together, but it would be great to understand where the needs are that are the biggest unmet needs are. And I'm just wondering if that's even something that might be a possibility and if it would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely think there are gaps, and we definitely want to figure out what all of those gaps are. A lot of it is we spoke about. It's the service providers. Getting those service providers is a definite challenge. As far as the resource guide, it is a work in progress. Herding the cats of all the different organizations to get their information. The resource guide will be a booklet. John Henley kind of gave me the idea of it several months back, and I have a graphic designer that's working on it. The idea was that we would hand it out at the launch of the hub, but I can move it more towards the front burner and get that out sooner.
Thank you.
And
Hannah, I lost track. I thought I saw 3 hands, but now I see 1. So
it looks like we've got 2. One went up and down, but next up we have Mario. Mario, you should be able to unmute.
Thank you so much. Very excited to hear all the great news that are being presented tonight. I'm just curious to know whether, how much of this it's really catering and sensitive and inclusive to the Latinx community. I about 3 months ago, I started an Al-Anon group, which is, follows the same methodology of the 12 steps. I partnered with San Leo's Catholic Church, and it has taken me a while to really get some get interest in people participating in the group. And this is something that is a free resource available to our community, and it's something that people find it challenging because of a lot of the stigma that, as all of you know, it's attached to mental health. And we also live in a very small, tiny community where everyone knows everyone. So I'm not sure, well, I think that the effort is to be commended, and I applaud all of you. I wonder, how much of that is really going to benefit and be address the need of the Latinx community that is always lagging behind. Al-Anon groups, Alateen, and AA groups. That's something that our Latinx community has been using for a long time, and yet it's something that oftentimes are not invited to participate in this sort of work efforts that these groups are pushing and trying to establish here in the community. Thank you.
thank you, Mario. You bring up a good point.
And next up is John. John, you should be able to unmute.
Sure, thanks. John Henley from the hospital. I just want to recognize and thank Hannah for taking the lead on the collaborative and really pushing us and hurting us to work on this. It's a long road. We're at sort of mile 1 of the marathon, but we're running, and that's what matters. I will tell you that as we go through our strategic planning process, I've been asked several times what the biggest need is, the most critical unmet need in healthcare as we see it from a hospital perspective, and it's mental health. It's not heart disease, it's not diabetes, it's mental health. Not because it's the biggest, but it's because it's the one we're not meeting. So I'm really hopeful and optimistic and energized by the work that Hannah's doing. So thank you.
Thank you, John.
And seeing no further hands.
Okay, we'll come back to council. Are there any closing comments from anyone? Okay, seeing none. I would really like to thank our presenters. Again, this is a difficult topic for many people, but I do believe it's one that's important, and the more we talk about it, the more we normalize this conversation, the better chance we have of saving lives and creating that space for people to feel that they can get some help. So thank you all for all the work that you're doing. Really appreciate it. We are going to take a 10-minute break, and then we will come back and finish up our agenda. The Springs Community Plaza is the next one up. So Hannah, if you could set a timer for us for 10 minutes, and we'll see you back in 10 minutes. Thank you all. All right, we can all come back. Thank you, everybody. Again, quiero comentar que no tenemos servicios en español de interpretación esta noche. Lo sentimos mucho. En el futuro, aseguramos que tendremos servicios en español. Y lo siento mucho que esta noche no lo tenemos disponible. So apologizing for not having interpretation services. We're not sure what happened, but we will make sure that that takes place in the future. So the next item, we're bringing this back. We've heard a lot of public comment, and we need to make a decision about we're going to discuss and receive direction from council about a letter to the developers, and if that's something that we are going to pursue. So we'll have discussion among council members, and then we will open it up for public comment. We've heard a lot, so taking that all into consideration, and then we'll hear some more this evening as well. And we can make a final decision after public comment. So just wondering what the thoughts are from council about a letter.
Yeah, did you all receive the letter that Karina sent out from me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I don't know if we should read it aloud. I could share my screen.
Yeah, I
Is
think
that-
sharing your screen, if we could put it up for the public, that would be
Okay.
great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hannah,
dear.
can you give the other Hannah that permission?
I think I have it already.
Do
I'm
you?
not sure.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just gonna shut these other. I didn't realize how many screens I have open. Okay. Share screen. There we go. Okay. Do y'all see that?
Can you make it bigger for the
Give me a second.
for the visually challenged folks in the audience?
That didn't do it. No.
Well, if you read it out loud, that's good. I can.
Okay, 1 second. Wait. I don't know how to get out of full screen. Okay, date January 11th, 2023. I did it to the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors. Whereas the MAC was not sent the information regarding the agreement with the county and the Matsons once it was created. The meetings the Matsons have held under the agreement have been one-sided and did not allow for questions to be answered. There is community concern about the Matsons as development partners for various reasons. There is community desire for a plaza as a central meeting place. There's $2 million that could be used to establish a public plaza without creating a partnership with a private entity. Other options for a plaza have not been investigated. The Springs MAC asks the county to listen to their constituents and reassess their interactions with the Matsons and how information is being conveyed and controlled. There needs to be transparency in this process. Sincerely, Springs MAC. So that's what we have. That's based on, I mean, obviously there's a group, I think a number of them are here today from Wake Up Sonoma, who's done quite a bit of community organizing, and I believe, submitted a lot of information to us with over 500 signatures. That said, as a person, I am always very cautious. A small group of people can be very loud. However, I think that there is some information I would like to personally read into, into the meeting that was provided by David Eicher, if I could read that. So let's see. Am I still screen sharing? I need to stop screen sharing.
You're not. You're
Okay,
good.
Okay, so I'd like to, let me see if I can find this thing from David, and then I'd like to read this because to me, this is concerning. And, I think it's easy to say that people are just being anti-development. I'm a pro-development person. I might not agree with what everyone believes about development, but what I see here is a pattern of behavior. And so I just would like to read something from, it's from Piedmont, the town that the Matsons are from, and it's public testimony during a planning meeting, and it's from some residents. And the situation here is that the Matsons were doing more construction work on their personal residence. And so this is some testimony from neighbors, and I'm just going to read it. Seaview residents Alan Hirsch, Beth Hurwich, Sarah Hirsch, and Karen Rowland voiced their frustration over the 12 years of construction activity that has occurred at the property, the applicant's flagrant disregard of planning approvals and conditions in the past, and their concern that Mr. Matson will fail to abide by any new conditions or timelines imposed by the commission. They all strongly urged that if the current application is approved, the city exercise due diligence in ensuring that conditions and construction timetables are strictly enforced, and that the current eyesore nature of the Seaview side of the property due to illegal construction and debris is corrected. In addition, Mrs. Rowland requested that a drainage plan be included as a condition of approval, that no elevated exterior lighting be approved, the Seaview sidewalk be repaired, an acoustical study of the pool equipment be conducted, and that guarantees be included to ensure that proposed landscaping will be maintained. So I guess what I'm just saying here, and the reason I want to bring this up is this is a pattern of behavior. You know, this is from 2009. This is their personal home. And I'm just a little scared. So that's the information I wanted to share.
Are there any comments from the council or on the letter? Do we want to make additions, changes? Iris, I think your hand is up.
Yes, I wanted to talk about a little tiny exchange that I had with Mari Carmen as we finished the winter festival. We were doing the cleanup, basically, you know, getting things back in order. And she, I can't, you know, I don't have her exact words, but what she said to me is, we don't need a plaza, we have this. And she was indicating the parking lot. And I realized that she was right. The event was created because there was a will to do it, and it filled a need. It's the same energy that makes a potluck meaningful and rewarding. And, you know, I love that energy. What I've realized is that the idea of a plaza is, it's kind of at that location is basically, you know, that horse left the gate a long time ago without the rider. And we're working on an old desire. It also, that desire also really didn't include the Latinx community voice much in the planning, in the idea of it. It is certainly to be desired that we create something that is good for the whole community. And I think that in essence, the tiredness of this idea, and also the incredible expense it would be, no matter what, to generate a plaza and the parking garage. Certainly the money could be better spent elsewhere, and we could have a plaza somewhere else, or other gathering spaces. Little parklets we need little spaces for people to gather in, little parklets. We need more, oh dear, I'm terrible with this, field sport opportunities, soccer and softball and stuff like that. We also need play equipment for children throughout the springs, to make this the really vibrant and community that we all want, that will interact and have a real feeling of community. So and you know, we can put other things in the letter. I think it would probably be stronger if we did. Thank you.
Mari Carmen.
Well, thank you, Hannah, and to the Plaza Ad Hoc for putting this letter together. I definitely agree with it. Maybe just put the statement that's on the bottom on the top, and then do the whereas afterwards, and maybe just a one single line closing statement. And
Do you want
do
me
it
to start editing? Here,
yeah, if
let me,
possible.
I'm going to share my screen again then.
If we're gonna vote on this, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think, I think that definitely the most
resolution.
important is that the desire for gathering whatever, it is. This
There's a community
virtual-
desire for a plaza as a central meeting place.
This abstract, maybe, gathering place does exist, and I think that that's with the group that sent the letters that definitely say yes, we want a plaza, but not with the strings attached to the current situation. Based on the facts that we see here. So thank you for putting this letter together, and invite other council members to add any additions. That's what I was thinking of, making that strong ask from the beginning. Thank
Okay,
you.
let me, okay, so what I'm changing it to, there's a community desire for a plaza as a central meeting place, but we don't want there to be strings attached?
No.
Oh.
I that was more, my main ask was to put the statement that you added from the bottom to the top.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other were just my own words, not necessarily for the letter. But I do think there should be one closing sentence at the end to tie everything together. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I do agree, and grateful for you putting this together.
Okay, so does someone want to try and help with the summation sentence, the final sentence? We have whereas all these.
Can we change a couple of words here and there within the bullets? And then, so the MAC was not sent information regarding the agreement with the county and the Matsons once it was created. Maybe it was, we did not receive. Yeah, the MAC did not receive information
regarding, okay.
In a timely manner, because at some point, maybe bits and pieces, but not fully. I don't know if that's.
I don't know.
I found it on my own, so it was not ever delivered to us.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I also.
The problem we have also is that the agreement was for 6 months and it's about to expire.
So, okay, bullet 2, the Matson's meetings have been held under the agreement.
The meetings the Matsons have held under the agreement
have been one-sided and did not allow for questions to be answered. I think the community meetings, the Matsons have held under the agreement have not allowed for satisfactory public engagement or public discourse.
Okay, that's good.
I think it's important to say that they weren't forthcoming with in terms of talking to the community, in terms of providing answers.
So maybe allowed for perhaps something like several questions posed by the public were left unanswered or something like that.
Well, it was kind of one way. I mean, it's kind of all we could say things, but nothing came back. That's why I
right. So
used
we
the word
didn't have any
one-sided.
answers. So maybe
And left most questions unanswered.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, we showed our cards, they didn't show theirs, basically.
Sure. That's why I
The
said
other thing that
one-sided.
I don't know if we want to put it in this letter to the county, it is of concern to me. Actually, I've realized that the KS Matson LP has only contributed light to the Springs. I mean, really and truly, that's what we've got.
I feel like that's kind of part of the community. There's community concern about the Matsons as development partners for various reasons. I mean,
Yes,
we could be specific, but there are so
Well,
many different reasons.
Well,
people
I
are
think that's an
concerned.
important one. That is one
Okay,
of the major
specifically
reasons.
their blighted projects in the Springs.
Yeah,
Okay,
they have, they bought these places and they have only contributed blight.
okay. So are you okay with me just saying specifically their blighted projects in the Springs?
That's okay with me.
Okay,
I've realized that, you know, I thought about it and I thought, no, they're not contributing. They haven't contributed. There are businesses, our local businesses, in the Springs during COVID. Most of them made it through perseverance, and they've also come out, some of them stronger. I think they are stronger in a sense because they do have community backing, and because they did weather this storm. It may not be as measurable as we might like. I mean, it may not be as evident as we like. But
Can we also add where it says there's a community desire for a plaza as a central meeting place in the
Mhm.
Springs?
yeah, yeah.
After
Yeah.
place, add in the Springs.
yes.
And then the last other options for plaza, perhaps say need to be investigated with community input, because I think there's a request for people to have another community meeting to be able to discuss that.
Need to be investigated and assessed with community input.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know, something to that.
Investigated
Community input.
and community input allowed and community input allowed.
Or community input sought after, or
Yeah,
Investigated by the community?
no.
No, investigated.
I think it's important to
with
say that,
input by the community.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that is what is desired,
Okay.
an inclusive process. And the other thing is that, I don't know if we want to mention Larson Park as a possible recipient. It's in a sense the most obvious for the funds that are still available.
Larson Park is an obvious an obvious.
Maybe potential.
I one thing I wanted to say, and I'd like your guys' or everyone's input is, what about, this is a point that Wake Up Sonoma has made, but the need for the spring specific plan to be finalized or, updated along with this plaza discussion. I mean, I don't want to make one hinge on the other, but if we're talking about a master plan for our area, this is a big part of it. But maybe that's a different subject.
Let's hear from some other council members. I think I see Celeste's hand up, and then Joe and Jesus, if you have something you want to add.
I think adding a point of that Larson Park should be considered as a potential gathering space, and one that has been long neglected by the county. I mean, we don't even have a functioning bathroom. Sorry, I have bathroom envy. Maxwell has 4 bathrooms ready to go, and we don't even have anywhere to wash our hands in Larson Park. So I have a little bathroom envy right now. But it is a space that we gathered, and the community continues to mention Larson Park when we talk about the plaza. And so I think it's important to highlight it. It has historically been our gathering place, despite not having functioning restrooms or a appropriate playground.
Okay, so I just added it under the $2 million bullet point. Is that okay with everyone? How
Yeah.
you wrote it? Larson Park is a potential should it say gathering space or plaza space or plaza?
I think gathering place, perhaps. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think people have suggested that it be a plaza. I think what I've been hearing from the community is that it should be invested in as our gathering space, but that it needs to be invested in. That's the
Great.
feedback I've been getting.
Great. Okay, it should be good
Because
then.
it has a lot more going on for it.
Okay, thank you, Celeste.
And Maxwell doesn't have any functioning bathrooms right now.
Yeah, but there's
I'm
four
sure-
ready and waiting right there, man.
Oh yeah, when it's done, who knows when that'll be? I'm
I'm
not
ready
holding
to
my breath.
kidnap a potty.
Oh gosh.
Joe, do you have anything you want to add to the letter or any changes you want to see?
No, I think it's good. I think I know you brought it up last meeting and brought it up again. You know, the possible need for us to host some sort of feedback session. I think makes sense because the thing is, a lot of the stuff still, is waiting for whenever that next meeting happens, right? So part of us saying like, they haven't done anything with our feedback. I will say the purpose of the next meeting was to address that feedback. So that's just my 2 cents is it's not necessarily that they've done nothing with it. They just haven't done anything with it in a timely manner. And by the time that meeting comes around, there's a totally good chance that they really didn't do anything with it. But, just trying to see the other side of the coin.
Yeah, and we have to thank you for that, Joe. And we have to make a decision as to we want to wait until those options are public, or do we want to send this prior to that? So that's something we also need to consider in this process. Because we don't know what those options might be. We are basing this on a lot of information that we've received, but just want to, throw that out as a possibility as well.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts to send something now. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just now more so once that actually happens, we'll have different follow-up.
Yeah.
Can I add something really quick? Or what do you guys think about this, adding this intro, just for clarity's sake? There needs to be transparency in this process around the parking lot at 22 Boys Boulevard and the scoping agreement between the county and the Matsons, just for clarity's sake. Does that make sense to everyone? I just feel like because I moved this from the bottom to the top, it's like a little less clear what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Well, wouldn't it be like in the process around?
What if I do this?
Making that parking lot a potential plaza?
How about this? There needs there needs to be transparency
How
in the
about
process in the scoping agreement.
How about we are requesting transparency?
We are requesting
I'm
transparency in the process around the parking lot at 22 Boys Boulevard and the scoping agreement between the county and the Matsons. The Springs
Well-
Mac. Okay.
sorry. I'm also wondering if we should
converting the
Hold on, you
the
guys.
parking lot.
Hold on. Time out. One at a time.
I was wondering if we should be a little more specific. It's not the Matsons as a couple. It's KS Matson LP, I think. Actually.
KS?
KS, Ken and Stacy. But it's an Matson. It's not an S on it. It's an LP, I think.
Thank you.
Not that I'm very conversant with that stuff, but I believe that's a little more specific, even if it may be
Process
incorrect.
around the potential conversion of the parking lot at 22 Boys Boulevard. And the transparency in the process
Regarding,
regarding the potential conversion of the parking lot at 22.
Should it say we continue to request, right? Because this isn't the first time.
This is
it's
the first
been
time we've sent it.
requested.
Is it the first time? But we're sending this to the County Board of Supervisors. We haven't sent them anything about this before, have we?
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, probably not to them.
Joe, is that your comment or did you have another one too?
No, that's all.
Okay. And then I thought I heard Mari Carmen's voice.
No, I was just to explain that it was the process in conversion of the parking lot to a plaza. So, and that doesn't specify there. It says the potential conversion of the parking lot to what?
Yeah.
To a
Yeah.
I'm also wondering if another point that because this project would be so expensive and time consuming, it's not something that is a good fit for us for the Springs, because we need a place. And as Mari Carmen said, we have the parking lot now, and we did something great with it. Thanks largely to Mari Carmen and
No,
Karina.
actually, it's to the Community Voice Ad Hoc, which we'll talk about a little bit later in your part of it, Ms. Iris.
Can we come up with a closing paragraph or closing statement and then go to public comment?
That would be great. Due to the above, we reiterate the need for transparency and assessment of if this is the best thing for the Springs community. Transparency in this process and an assessment if this is the best, if an assessment, if moving forward with KS Matson as an investment, as a developer and partner, is in the best interest of the Springs community.
I would like to ask everyone, actually, at this point, as a group, I know where I stand on this. That's probably pretty obvious. Do we actually believe that it would be a good thing to go through with this?
An assessment.
As a group. And if we don't, I think we should stay that. Assessment
I mean, I
of-
think it's pretty.
It should be an
We
assessment
can't
of
just-
moving
yeah.
forward, I think.
An assessment of moving forward, that doesn't.
But if moving forward,
We reiterate the need for transparency in this process. We ask that you assess. We ask that you assess if moving forward with KS Matson's as a developer and partner is in the best interest of the Springs community.
So everybody has their version of what the best interest is.
That's true.
So
what if we say should we say we do not believe that moving forward with KS Matson's is in the best interest? We do not believe.
I think that the most important is that the community is heard. Here we are stating that I wouldn't say that we all.
What if we say we are unsure?
Exactly.
What if we say we are
Yeah,
unsure?
I think that's fine, because the six of us are not the entire community, so I don't think it's right for us to say this is the end all be all, this is where we stand.
Right.
That's not why we're here.
And I feel like, yeah, we are unsure if moving forward with this project is in the best interest of the community.
how about unsure? You're unsure. How about unsure of moving forward?
No, it works how it is. We are
Yeah.
unsure if moving forward with this project is in the best. I mean, it's simple, but there's nothing
Well,
wrong
I
with
was,
it.
what I was going to suggest of moving forward, being in the best interest of the community. The if just seems.
We are not sure if moving forward, or
I think it looks fine. It looks fine to me.
Okay.
Makes sense to me.
Okay.
Group rights, live public group rights are very
Right.
challenging. So Jesus, do you want to say anything? Because I haven't heard from you.
Well, I think that it's very hard for me to read the letter, but I want to stress out that the idea of a plaza is very on the interest of the community, regardless if it's not built on the parking lot or is or at Larson's Park. that we should stress that out, that it is actually in the interest of the community, a plaza, but
There's a point that says that there's community desire for a plaza as a central meeting place in the Springs.
okay,
Yes.
but I would
And
also
with-
like to then point out that the Springs corridor that is not ratified, and there was Miss Napolis was just saying that it is really an interest of the community to have plaza. So I would like to say that yes, but even though it is not ratified by this board of supervisor, that I think actually it should be, and that's why I am just pointing that out.
Oh, how about if we make that sentence a little stronger? There is community desire for a plaza as a central meeting place in the Springs. Let's see.
That's what it,
Well, no. It's the and going let's see, and planning for that is an important step. I think if maybe we could address Jesus's concern by strengthening that sentence.
I'm going to move us, so that what I'm going to do is I'm going to move us back to public comment, hear from them, give us a minute to reflect on this, and then we can make additional changes.
okay. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Yeah.
And then hopefully when I redo it again, I can do it bigger.
Okay, so we'll take public comment on the plaza, the letter. I see at least one hand. All right.
Sorry, I needed to unmute myself there. First up is Richard. Richard, you should be able to unmute. And Richard,
now
oh, there you
can-
go.
Okay, hi. Thank you for the time. Some of you know me, many of you don't. I'm going to stick to my thing. I want to bring 3 points that are very important, I feel, and one question. Point number 1 is, I think it is dangerous for any letter that comes from this group to implicate, slander the Matsons for blighting an area. You have to be very careful if you're asking people who have such disregard for anyone in their community, including neighbors, and they've exhibited this over a long period of time. Please strike that. You're going into dangerous waters when you're accusing them of something you simply cannot prove. In your opinion, it may be blight. In their opinion, they don't care. Number 2 is there's no call to action at the end of the letter. In other words, you're making a statement, you're making comments, there's no call to action. I think it needs to be much stronger. And as a closing, you would say, we expect to hear back from whomever within 10 business days. That's 2 weeks. If you don't ask and set up standards for response times, you're not going to get them. The second thing is, I think you might want to append or footnote any and all of the comments with a list of specific things you want them to provide. We want to see a signed contract. We want to see their architectural plans, whatever it is, be specific, attach it to this letter. And my final question is, do you all consider litigating on this? Because you may well have to. Last point, Susan Gorin runs the purse strings on the 2 million. It's now about 1.7 million or 1.3 million.
And next up is Josette. You should be able to unmute.
Okay, Josette here. I'm gonna have to ad lib here because I am very pleased with your draft letter. I know you're still working on it. But I think the most important thing here is, as you all discussed, that I believe we can have a really wonderful community serving plaza if we just engage the community openly and let them share their ideas honestly. So I think that if we can ask for a meeting that is structured differently, and get the community to work with facilitators here in the Springs, I think we really have a great chance. And one of the things I would be willing to pitch in and help with is to create a logical and foolproof questionnaire for the meeting so that people could fill it out and we could get input and not have a free-for-all. But you know, I think we really have an opportunity here. And I think that what you have put forth in the draft letter, and we're going to love to see a copy of this when it's done along with the minutes, because I think that this is, I really commend you all. And I think you've hit all the important points. Thank you.
Thank you, Josette.
All right, next up is Anna. Anna, you should be able to unmute.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and thank you for working on this issue, which is so important to the Springs, and it is historically important. Starting back with the redevelopment group, then the Springs Community Alliance, every community council that has existed has tried to address this question, and behind the question has always been getting the voice of the community to affirm things that are proposed, together with getting county money. Unfortunately, these things do not seem to have come together. The county money has been committed without the voice of the community sufficiently affirming it. I believe that the letter should be stronger than it is, asking a halt on everything until the community voice is heard, and making clear that there are alternate locations and even alternate ideas for this money, which has been scarce in the Springs. And I think the idea of parklets, trees, benches, playgrounds, all of these things have been vetted tonight, and they don't show up in the letter. I don't know why we have to limit ourselves to addressing this simple proposal. I think it would be well to broaden the statement to the supervisors that this proposal has narrowed the community's ability to talk about what they would really like. I don't know how binding this agreement with Mattson Partners is. I, as a community member, I don't understand that. So those are the main things I wanted to say. And thank you for tackling this and not being timid. It's the only chance the Springs has ever had to have money offered to it to do something. Let's do what we really want. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
All right, and next up is Veronica. Veronica, you should be able to unmute.
Okay, thank you very much, Mac, for listening to our voices. One of the first things I'd like to say is we do need to bring a halt to having a relationship with developers who don't develop. David had mentioned the Piedmont property, but they're doing the same thing at Moon Mountain, which has been going on since 2015. I've always been an advocate of a plaza and a gathering space for the Springs. However, we need to separate that concept from having to do it with Lefevre Madsen. When they purchased the building, they purchased it knowing full well that they did not have parking. They need to figure out their parking situation and not put it back onto the community and to the county. The community wants black and white proof of support for the project. Wake Up Sonoma has provided the county with over 500 signatures that oppose this project with Lefevre Madsen. We'd like to see who supports this project with them. The Springs specific plan has not been ratified, so it should not be referred to in support of a plaza or a gathering space at this location. And agreed, we need to have a true community meeting without Lefevre Madsen representation about a future gathering place for the springs by the community and for the community. And also, last but not least, I think that the scoping agreement was only good until January 12th. It was a 6-month period of time. So have they extended that contract? Are they going to extend it? Is the contract even, is the agreement, scoping agreement even valid at this point? Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Veronica.
Next up is Mike. Mike, you should be able to unmute. And Mike, I am not seeing that you've unmuted.
There we go. How's that?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
First, I want to commend the committee for taking this issue on in such a fair way. And secondly, I want to thank my good friend Veronica Napoles for all her hard work and creativity and inspiration in bringing Wake Up Sonoma together. Wake Up Sonoma was started by a few friends and committee leaders who shared the same frustrations with the meeting we attended at Flowery School on November 15th and again on the 17th. A meeting where we were invited to keep our mouths shut and play along with Supervisor Gorin and developer Ken Matson's 90-minute long dog and pony show, where they checked the quote public input box required by the scoping agreement. The meeting was more like a game show than a serious event. The setup didn't allow for any real discussion or input. Questions were met by Matson with short, shallow answers and lots of I don't knows. The presentation had more holes in it than substance. As our frustration with the process grew in the following days, we decided that we were going to form a citizens action group. The response was immediate and gathered energy as other community members joined in. Our first meeting was just 2 weeks later on November 29th, and it was covered by Phil Barber of the Press Democrat, whose article hit the newsstands on December 7th. In just a few weeks, we had developed a strong, determined group of socially conscious people in opposition to Matson's Plaza. Our story is one of response to unfair representation. Push people hard enough and you're going to get a reaction. In her rush to cement her legacy and deliver a plaza, Ms. Gorin seems to have sided with big money over her constituency. What makes her think that Ken Matson is the man for the job? We don't know, nor do we know what the future will bring for the plaza, but we will be paying attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Next up, we have David. David, you should be able to unmute.
Hi, thank you. First of all, during construction, you won't have the parking lot to use. So the longer the construction takes, the less time you have with that, what's currently being used at, at various times. And then some other questions still kind of outstanding. It's when will the Matson hold the third meeting with the public? When will there be a detailed plan for the public to review? And will the draft term sheet be available for the public? I understand you have not received it. So one of the things in the letter that you should ask is that the draft term sheet be available to the public as well. And in terms, I think you should also mention the underground parking. And hopefully you all see what I see is that underground parking at this location is not good. Three main reasons is it will actually reduce the number of parking spaces. The lot to the north, the old Uncle Patty site, needs to have access through the area of the proposed plaza, because that's the only access they have right now is from that street. There's also a higher maintenance and repair cost. And so given the Matson reliability, not only as read before about Piedmont in their home, the Piedmont Planning Commission in their resolution said, whereas the repeated violation of city codes and substantial delays in corrective actions on the part of the property owners have resulted in undue additional costs to the city. Well, you have to ask the question, is the Matson a reliable partner, or with partnering with him cause delays and unknown future costs to the county? So anyway, thank you for listening. And I think that you have got a great start of the letter and just a little more tweaks. It'll be perfect.
Thank you, David.
All right, and next is Lisa. Lisa, you should be able to unmute.
Hi, thank you very much for discussing everything as you have. I've lived in Sonoma Valley for 40 years. My name's Lisa Stormont. The last 10 years I've been here in the hot springs. I'm going to cover something that an unheard group of people need to be able to express. After becoming more active and involved in the Wake Up Sonoma Citizen Group, I have to wonder if the MAC membership knows that the Lefevre-Metzen Group has strong ties and is backed by an organization that denies equal freedom to all citizens. I'm a member of the LGBTQ community, and I have to say I'm quite alarmed. Personally, I do not want that kind of business developer in our community. The gay community is not safe with the Lefevre-Metzens having control of community businesses, as they have been very clear about their prejudices. We ask that you research the Council for National Policy, as well as other national affiliations of Lefevre-Metzens that will make our community unsafe. I invite you to start by going to the Wake Up Sonoma website and explore the many tabs that will help to inform you. We need to build and strengthen, not divide and weaken. There are ways to provide a plaza experience in Boys Hot Springs without selling our souls. I invite you to join with us to explore other options. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
And next is Diana. Diana, you should be able to unmute.
Hi, okay. Hello. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to say a few things. I am really proud of this committee. When I heard about this development, and I did some research on this Lefevre-Metzen, and realized how many properties they had bought in Sonoma and had not yet been developed. My immediate reaction was, what is the point here and what is the agenda? Have seen several communities changed completely, where they didn't reflect the heritage and the culture of the actual community. And this looks like something that is taking place right before our very noses. I love the letter, and I agree also that it should be a little stronger. I know that any and all development funds or initiatives that involve government funding, state, federal, or regional, are for improvements in local communities, must involve community contribution, and they must be involved in the decision making. There are codes, there are state and national codes that speak to this. I believe personally that it's no longer acceptable for officials to allocate or award funds at their discretion. Today, we recognize this as a form of corruption. Investors with large amounts of money have influenced and are changing communities where they have no personal history or liability. That's how I see these people. I think that appealing to the Board of Supervisors from that perspective would be a good idea.
Thank you, Diana.
And I'm seeing no further hands.
Thank you. So that was a lot of great feedback on the letter. And I am not, I'm just going to say it, I'm not comfortable moving forward with a letter tonight. I think we need to do some more work on it. There was a lot of good feedback. And since there's no additional meeting planned, we could bring this back to the February meeting and give it some more time is my suggestion. Just wondering what the group thinks. Hannah, Iris, that's who I see right now.
I'm just asking for clarification. You said there's no additional meeting planned. You mean we don't know when the Matzens are having their third meeting?
Yeah, correct.
And if they don't do it in January, they've timed out.
I don't know if that's true or not, but
okay.
maybe.
Okay.
But I'm just thinking that, I mean, we have a good start, but there's a lot to consider.
Mhm.
And
I did collect some of the ideas in the letter if people would like to look at it again, but I also understand it's getting late and the group write can be not fun.
I'm going to go back to Iris and then we'll see what people think about either trying to push it through tonight or moving it to the February agenda. Iris?
Actually, I'm wondering, I think that we should find out if this is still in play. If it is correct that tomorrow is the deadline for having another meeting, is that going to be observed? Is that going to be observed by the county and that's like, nope, we're done? Or are they going to extend it? If they're going to extend it, then you know, then putting it on the agenda for next time, of course, is important. If it's a dead issue, then we know the answer. At least for the Mattson idea. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I still think I will come back to that community meeting that I do believe we need to hold.
Yes.
Because I think regardless of what happens with this meeting that may or may not happen, I think we as a MAC and Community Voice should hold that space for people. I think people, when they come together, have brilliant ideas about ways that their community should be governed and developed. So
I support that. I wasn't saying that we shouldn't do that. I'm just saying, if the Mattson issue is dead, we don't need to spin our wheels with that. That's all.
Yeah. So Hannah, what the other Hannah, sorry. Is there a way we can find out? How can we find out whether another meeting has been scheduled, whether it's going to be scheduled, where we are with that? Is that something that you can find out for us?
Yeah, I've taken your question down and I'll work with Karina and Supervisor Gorin to get you guys an answer.
All right. Thank you, Hannah. I appreciate that. So with
And I'd
that,
say,
Joe,
I personally have no issue if we have to have a special meeting for a letter. Say we find out like tomorrow that it's in 2 weeks. If we need to get back together for a letter, I'm fine with that. But I do think it makes sense to push it and spend a little more time on it.
thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. I'm open to coming back and dedicating a meeting to it because I really almost think that's what it's going to take. Hannah?
I'm reading it right now. Do you guys want me to read it? Like the scoping agreement?
Oh, yeah.
Agreement term. The term under this agreement shall be 6 months from the date of this agreement, subject to extensions as provided below. If during the term, negotiations with the developer have progressed sufficiently to the point where there is a draft term sheet, then the county administrator may grant one extension of the term, but in no event shall such extension exceed 6 months. The developer understands that such extension in no way obligates the county to approve a term sheet. If a term sheet has not been executed by the parties by the expiration of the term, including any extensions, then this agreement shall terminate and neither party shall have any further rights or obligations under this agreement, except as set forth in sections 1.5 and 3.3. Notwithstanding the foregoing, the indemnities described in section 3.6, 3.10, and 4.5 shall survive the termination or expiration of this agreement. If a term sheet is executed by the parties, then upon such execution, this agreement shall terminate and all rights and obligations of the parties shall be set as forth in the executed term sheet. So they could have done an extension. So we still don't know. We need information from the county.
Yeah.
When was that signed though? Was it July?
Don't ask me that.
I'm sorry.
let me see if I can find that and I'll get back to you. Okay.
Well, we're all operating under the assumption that tomorrow is the date. I don't know where we got that from, but
From Wake Up Sonoma, basically.
Oh, okay.
Know where they got it. I assume they did research.
Yeah. So if Hannah W can answer that question for us, then we can make a decision about a special meeting to work on a letter. Is that a reasonable place to leave this? And Hannah P, you took notes on what people were saying.
I
Is that what
did.
I understood?
I
you to
did.
say? Yeah. Okay. Are there any other comments or suggestions at this point that we should take under consideration?
I'd just like to strongly urge us to go forward with community meetings, because the clock is ticking on that 1 point whatever million dollars that is available. And it would sure be great to use it for something.
Yeah. Hannah, was your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that that was one thing I took note of, Iris. I put that in the letter, if we are to send it, that we would like an update about the current amount of money in this account, because it seems like that's very disputed. Another thing I've heard is that there's a timeline to use this money, so we don't want to lose it. That'd be horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we're to hold a special meeting, maybe the two items on that agenda are finalizing the letter and a community meeting, setting a community meeting date. So that's for future agenda items. So we'll add that to the next, whatever that number 14. Okay. Pardon me?
Would there be agreement that this is urgent enough that even if the Mattson agreement is dead, that it would be important to have a special meeting so that we could plan a community meeting? Is that possible, or should that just be an agenda item for the next meeting in February? You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. So what Iris is suggesting is regardless of whether we proceed with the letter or not, we do hold a special meeting in the next couple of weeks to plan a community meeting. Is that what you said?
Yeah, and maybe that's too soon. I mean, maybe that's just a hurry up thing, but you know, talking about the urgency of the money.
We need some more information.
We need information.
Are people okay with leaving the letter where it is? And then either having a special meeting or just, let's start with this one. Are people okay with leaving the letter where it is? Okay, great. We'll wait for some information and we'll make a decision on a special meeting. Okay. Okay. Are you, Mari Carmen and Jesus, are you guys okay with that? Okay. Okay. All right, very good. Then I'm gonna, this is a big topic for the Springs. Lots of people very passionate about it. And it's nice to see all the engagement, but it's, yeah, we're going to use our power and energy to produce something awesome out of this. I can see it. Okay. We're going to skip 13. We're going to wait for a budget update when Karina is back. So we're consideration for future agenda items. For February, we have economic growth and housing. March, we have, I think that's Sonoma County Transit. I would suggest on the February one, we put a placeholder for a community meeting in case we don't have a special meeting. Iris, did you want to add something?
Yes, I would, well, actually, my questions for the agenda, for an agenda item for February, are around the original $2 million that was created for a plaza, because it is slowly being eroded by expenses, apparently. And the question I have specifically is around parking enforcement that is being paid for out of those funds, apparently. And I really seriously question the effectiveness of that, and if it's actually necessary. There are very few people parking there now.
Okay, so we'll add that a report on parking enforcement. I think what I heard you say is the cost and what funding it's generating.
Yes, and how do we get that? Would Hannah W. be able to request that?
Well, we'll add it to agenda item. We'll add it on the future agendas and see where we who we have to have come and do
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that's something we really need answers for.
Okay.
Provide input.
And,
Thank
and through the chair, sorry, I unmuted for another reason. I believe you actually skipped item 12 on the agenda, so we can.
Oh,
So sorry about that.
thank you. Item 12. Sorry about that, folks. Community, wait, can we close item 14 and then can we do that? Yeah. Item
Absolutely.
14, any other future agenda items? Okay, I'm going to close 14, going back up to 12. Sorry about that, folks. We're going to receive ad hoc updates. We've got community voice. Mari, did you want to say something about that? I thought I heard you say.
Yes, Hannah, would you mind sharing?
Yes, sorry, it'll take me a minute to pull that up.
Thank you. Okay, but meanwhile, I think is it loading?
Yes, it's giving me a bit of a spin here. I'm sorry about that. I made you change items and I'm not ready.
It's all right.
No worries. Do you want to start with the other ad hocs meanwhile?
Sure, let's go while Hannah's working on that. Bike rack ad hoc. I think we're trying to get the bike rack moved.
Yeah, just gotta get it over to Artiscape. Still on the list. It's gonna happen.
Okay. We do have a plan. It's just the moving that bike rack. It's big. And literally big. So we'll make that, we're gonna make that happen. We have the Springs Community Plaza ad hoc already covered with the item we did. Community picnic, Celeste,
Sorry, I lost my internet there for a minute. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. My internet completely went out for a minute. Yeah, I think we definitely, I've been thinking a lot about that. I think we definitely want to wait until the very end of spring after school gets out. Having now we're all in the middle of surviving this flood, and if this rain continues this season, I would hate for us to get rained out. So I think better safe than sorry. Let's shoot for June, where we know is very, very not likely we will get rained out at that point, and school will be out, and all those activities that come with the end of the school year will be over. So I'm looking at shooting for June. So what I'd like to do is maybe in our next meeting, if we could look at dates as a MAC and agree on what that we could select for June.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Rather than as an ad hoc or just arbitrarily picking one, but as a MAC looking at the calendar and choosing a date for that.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. Okay, Facebook page. We have one, it's operating. We're posting things as they come up. We still don't have the number of people that we had on the group. I think it was a group. I mean, it is functioning. Celeste, you got some suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, we've been having some really great attendance at MAC meetings. So for those attending, if you do utilize Facebook, if you could please share our Facebook page and help the Springs community gather on that page versus the group, and then start building community from there. The more that people share and inviting friends to like the page, the more the page will grow.
Awesome. That's a great suggestion. Thank you. Okay. I
And
think
then
that's it for the
But-
ad hocs. Can we go back to,
what about the community outreach with regarding the banner and the logo?
oh, we didn't have it on this agenda. We missed that.
I thought it was an ad hoc still. Or not anymore, correct?
No. Was it an ad hoc? I know who's on it. It was Joe and Celeste and me. It was an ad hoc. Yes, we are coming up. The last time we met about, thank you. We met about putting together we need to add that to the ad hoc groups. We decided to run a competition, and we need to do another planning session to put that together. We talked about doing that in January. Thanks, Mari Carmen. We do need to get that logo thing fixed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
So,
Hannah, she said the PowerPoint was ready, correct?
okay, great.
Go ahead, Hannah. Thank you. Perfect. Well, as you know, my name is Mari Carmen Reyes, and together with Mike Dituri and Ms. Iris Lombard, we are part of the ad hoc for Community Voice. And in December, we celebrated we hosted together with a nonprofit partner, Sonoma Immigrant Services, the Springs Winter Celebration. And here you can see the flyer that was done by our nonprofit partner, Sonoma Immigrant Services, Alondra Marroquin, and our key collaborators besides Sonoma Immigrant Services was Sonoma Valley Fire District and the Fairmont Mission Inn, and of course giving credit to the MAC and Supervisor Gordon's office. You can click the next. So originally, as mentioned, it was proposed by the Community Voice ad hoc. We proposed a family-friendly event where we would where hot chocolate cookies, holiday treats, an opportunity to take pictures with Santa would be provided. The MAC approved $1,000 from its budget, seeing that this would benefit the community in such a way that it would bring joy and provide an opportunity for community connectedness and belonging. Next, please. Here you can see our key partners, and with that also we want to do a special thank you to Santa Claus, of course, who was Fred Alabac, Supervisor Gordon, and very special thank you to Karina Garcia, field representative for Supervisor Gordon's office, who we played elves at Target, purchasing all the gifts. And we'll see a budget right now. Thank you so much also to the Community Voice ad hoc and to the volunteers from the MAC that also attended. You know who you are. Thank you so much for attending, supporting. PetSaf Line also for their support with decorations for the setup for Santa Claus. Farm to Pantry that was also there providing fresh produce. And last but not least, just general community volunteers. Next. So during the event, Santa was transported by Sonoma Valley Fire District, and he gave out 160 gifts with the help of elves. Family Polaroid pictures were taken during the event. Fairmont Mission Inn provided hot chocolate and cookies, and raffles were provided by local businesses. And all this was in collaboration with Sonoma Immigrant Services, who took a lead on that. Next, please. Here is the breakdown of the budget. In total, we had a total budget of $4,000, which was $1,000 from the MAC and a $3,000 from an anonymous donor. Here you can see that the total spent from everything The breakdown was a total of $3,073 with 58 cents. And we have a remainder of $926 with 42 cents. Proposing that that money be kept with our nonprofit partner to propose another event and be able to use that money for another community event, potentially at the parking lot on 22 Boys Boulevard again. And if there's any questions, but here we have DJ, a tent, the holiday toys, which we were able to get 160 for $14.20 at Target, which actually averaged out to almost about $9 a toy or a gift, which ranged from puzzles, board games, little soccer things, squishmallows, blankets, and then in addition to beautiful holiday gift bags, also to put them in a Polaroid camera that now technically is also can be used by the MAC for other events, which was the camera was about $150 plus the rest was to buy the Polaroid film. The winter backdrop, raffle item tickets, more holiday gift bags for the raffle items, and the famous churros. And that was our budget for that. Next. And here are some pictures from the help from with the MAC members, some volunteers, and Pets Lifeline and Sonoma Immigrant Services. The setup of the toys and the setup of the backdrop with the, so basic, all those, the chair was, and Alondra's actually here. If there's public comments, you can talk. This decorations by the Pets Lifeline that allowed us to borrow it. And so thank you, Pets Lifeline. Next. And there's a picture that was afterwards when they were hearing to Maite's voice, but for the raffle items. Thank you, Maite, for being the MC. But the line was around the corner. We are just so amazed that this, we thought, we're like, oh my God, are people going to go? Because we didn't hear a lot of people talking about it on Facebook. But when we saw that line just around the post office, and people were waiting there since almost 10 in the morning. So we see that people really, want to gather, to have joined our community. It was diverse. It was beautiful to see the little babies and even adults and families gathered together to take pictures, have family time and for the kids and, seeing Santa Claus. Fred, thank you so much. He really made a very special Santa Claus. And Ed, even though you don't think so, but that right there, the Frosty the Snowman, is Ed, the CEO from the Fairmont Mission Inn. Thank you so much to Fairmont Mission Inn. And here's some more pictures. Unfortunately, when Santa arrived, Karina was taken to the ER because her finger got hurt. But then they took her and then they brought her back when we were cleaning up. So we were able to catch one picture with her. But here we are with the girls from the MAC. And next. And just thank you to everyone. And we hope that this could be done again. It's have more time to maybe fundraise or look for sponsors during the year and make another spring's winter celebration for our community. Merci. Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. That was a great event. Mari Carmen, you were a driving force on that, you and Karina. So thank you.
Oh
both.
my God. And she was with her. We both were with her herding backs at Target. It was amazing, but we did it. And thank you again to all the MAC members. And Alondra is on. Is it okay if she speaks?
Yes.
After you open?
Hannah, can you promote Alondra?
Yes, just one moment. She should be here in just a second.
Hi, yes, so I just want to comment on how successful the Springs Winter Celebration was. I was there with Sonoma Immigrant Services, and it was just so beautiful to see it all come together with the collaboration of other local businesses, organizations, and community members. There are so many people to thank, but so much gratitude to all who were already mentioned by Mari Carmen, and to Karina Garcia, Mari Carmen, and the entire Springs MAC, and Fred Albach. So many families showed up that at one point we were running out of gifts, but luckily we had extra gifts that were donated by community members, and Supervisor Goins stopped by to drop off additional gifts. So no kids left empty-handed. There was just so much joy. It was contagious. In addition, we raffled gifts that were donated by the Fairmont Mission Inn, Artiscape, Prime Cinemas, Plain Jane's Consignments, Republic of Thrift, White Grape Painting, and many others. So again, there was just so much joy and great feedback. So we really hope that this event can happen again for the upcoming winter, and for us to provide a bit more of everything, because it is amazing to see community come together like that. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Alondra, and thank you for all your support and energy and enthusiasm, because you really put a lot into it. So we appreciate that. Thank you. I think it'd be awesome if we could get lights in the tree that's there for next year. Okay. Are there any comments or public comment on the ad hocs? Okay.
Yeah, not seeing any hands.
Seeing none. Now I think I'm on the last item, right? All right. Is there a, thank you all for everything you've done to keep this MAC so successful and so relevant, and people appreciate the space we're creating. So thank you all for your continued support. I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
A motion.
Joe first, Marie Carmen second. Thank you to all our support staff. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, everyone. We'll be in contact about a special meeting.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
everyone.
Good night,
Good
all.
night.
Good night.